We are live today on the KidStar Nutrients page, and we are going to be joined by our special guest, Angela Dodge, and we're going to be talking about iron for the whole family. Of course, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, and same with Angela, so it's always exciting to have her here with us, so we will wait for her to join on as well. But we will be talking about all ages for iron deficiency, 0 months all the way up to seniors, and our BioFe Iron line does have a product for everybody in the family. So we're definitely going to talk about each product, what they do, who they're for, and what's different about each one of them. So we will see. I think she is just about joining us here. There she is.
There I am.
Today's live is about iron for the entire family. And I definitely want to also reintroduce you as well on the live to make sure everyone knows who you are. So Angela, take it away.
Oh, hello, everybody. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sitting in my car. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
It's true.
And so I hope you can hear me okay. But I am Angela Dodge. I'm a dietitian, a pediatric dietitian that's been working in peds for 23 years and working with KidStar for, I think it's a year and a half now, isn't it?
It is.
I think so. Yeah.
Time flies.
Doing a lot of the practitioner education for physicians and dietitians and naturopaths. And I love doing these to get out to people who don't have that background, because there's so much information to know that it gets overwhelming. So it's nice to kind of break it down in these lives for your audience, that we can help everybody make sure that they're getting enough iron into their bodies and into their families. But yeah.
Yes. I know even as a mom, you have 3 kids as well.
Yeah.
I have 3 kids. I don't think when they were little, people were really telling me enough about
No.
iron-rich foods, what they should be eating. The conversation really wasn't around iron where it should have been around iron a lot more than it was. I think maybe once it was brought up in a wellness check. And then, of course, my daughter was iron deficient. And when we found out, all I thought was, but the last 2 years, no one said anything.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's good to have these conversations for people who are watching and knowing, oh, that's something that I should maybe bring up, because it's still, regardless of what we've been doing, it's still not a conversation that happens now within visits with your physician. They just have so many things that are going on. So it's nice if people know about this, they can bring that to their physician's attention or their naturopath or whoever they're seeing. So, yeah.
So then I guess when we're looking at this, what are the, I would say, signs and symptoms or things that might tip off a parent or themselves to look at iron deficiency?
Yeah, it's true, because it's for ourselves as well.
Yes.
It's that whole
Don't
family.
forget about the parents.
Don't forget about that. Well, and it's a very sneaky, it can be a sneaky deficiency. So a lot of the things that we know about. So basically what we need iron for. So this little iron in our body helps make hemoglobins, which is, it helps carry oxygen around the body. So a red blood cell in the body, it looks like kind of like an inner tube. If you grew up on the water, do you know where you'd be in an inner tube? But so that's your red blood cell. And in the middle, it's kind of like this hemoglobin that iron helps to make. And when we don't have a lot of iron, you don't have a lot of hemoglobin, so that red blood cell gets real small. It's real shriveled. It's like when your inner tube kind of runs out of air. It's got a slow leak. So it doesn't have that ability to move oxygen around the body. So some of those signs and symptoms that you might see initially might be sort of, any sort of shortness of breath. You're not getting enough oxygen in the body, like walking upstairs or taking a walk might be difficult. And you don't notice that in kids. So it's a tricky one to see sometimes. Pale skin. I know you always like to do the little test with your eyelids, making sure that they're nice and flush. I know. What are ours doing?
I think mine are better than yours, but
I think mine are pale.
Well, I don't think I'm pulling down enough.
But carrying that oxygen and red blood cells around the body, so they get really pale. They look, kids kind of can look sort of translucent, like their skin gets very, very pale. And as a parent, you might not notice that. You might see it now when you go to families' houses or something. Someone might say, oh, because you see the child every day. But if
Yes.
another family member might say, oh, they look really pale, that might be something you might notice. They get, on their nails, they can have really pale nail beds or little ridges on their nails or spooned nails. We see that a lot where they kind of, you know, what is the word?
Like a dip or a scoop.
Dip, like a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
dip, yeah. But then there's also things that, you know, when you first found out, it was things that you wouldn't even think about. So sleep habits,
Yes. The
not
sleep
sleeping
killed
well,
us.
not
That
being able
was,
to sleep. That was your original.
and naps. There was never a nap. We did
Hmm.
not nap. And if she did nap, it was worse because when she woke up, it was like she had never napped.
Yeah.
And then of course it takes a few hours. It was horrible. It was horrible. If she did nap, all of us were like, brace yourself for
Brace
when she
yourself
wakes
for.
up. And then, then you got to do bedtime again in a few hours. And then you're just like, this is all starting over again.
Yeah.
And no one slept. And I never knew that the sleep was an issue for kids at all.
Hmm.
I heard about, hair and nails and
Yeah.
but I also didn't know about concentration
Yeah.
and the growth of your kid. If you don't have the right nutrients, they're not going to hit those milestones. Their
Yeah.
brain doesn't develop the same. Like
We
I
don't know.
only
We
knew
don't
of
know
like
any of that.
three. Yeah.
Hmm. And we see that a lot in especially younger kids that a parent might think, oh, they're not growing. Like they're not, it's called failure to thrive, or where a child's not growing to their potential. Maybe they're plateauing on their growth curve. So you notice like, oh, maybe their pants they're
You haven't had to buy new ones.
haven't had to buy anything for a while.
Yeah.
But your physician should probably know that as when they're smaller, like that's something that would cue them. But yeah, their concentration, any sort of hyperactivity, people don't know that correlation. And we talk about that all the time, you and
Yes.
I, but they're not seeing those. So those are all sort of those signs that something might be wrong, something you could talk to your physician about or ask. Yes, appetite. I'm just looking
Yes.
here. We see a lot when they start to, you get these picky eaters and they're not actually picky. Like
Not
their
hungry.
iron is so low,
Yeah.
they get this sort of deficiency and then their appetite becomes low. But when you start to replace that, appetite comes back and then their growth comes back. And yeah,
We
thank
once
you for
got
saying that, Brittany.
yeah. We once got an amazing email from a mom
Hmm.
near us in Vancouver, and her email was, my daughter was iron deficient and
Yes.
was not eating, and she was very, very, very small for her age. And she said finally, after taking the iron
Hmm.
drops, her daughter started eating. And she was,
Ah.
and
Yep.
she's like, my daughter didn't eat before. And so
Hmm.
even just a simple thing that most people take for granted, and your child's not doing those things, like it changes your life.
Yeah. You don't realize it. Yeah. Those are lovely, heartwarming messages. It's so nice.
They are. I do
But
agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And,
So what
and then, of
what
course,
next?
we can get iron from food,
We
and
can.
that's what we should be doing.
We
But,
should.
that is not always the case.
In any
I
age.
At
In
any age,
any,
I actually, even as an adult, I think to myself, okay, well, what did I eat this week
yeah.
that actually had enough things in it? Because
Hmm.
I love vegetables, but I can
Yes.
tell you there's not a ton of iron in vegetables,
Yes.
and you really have to focus and make sure you're getting enough.
Yeah, and if you've ever tried to, I know we're trying to talk about all ages and all throughout the ages, but in kids, if you've tried to get them to eat a perfect diet, that's not going to happen. You can try, and if for anyone, you can try to include, you know, high iron foods like heme iron, which is sort of meat-based products that you're going to get a little more iron in it, or non-heme iron, which is in, vegetables and other options, but it's a very, very difficult. I know what you mean, where you're like, what did my kid eat yesterday that had any iron in it at all?
Yeah,
You just don't, it's hard. It's very difficult to get the amount of iron in every single day that we're supposed to. And, there's
yeah.
all other
There's
things
multiple, of
there's
course.
multiple things that can, and, you know, make that not happen. So, yeah,
I
it's
always,
very,
but
very
even
difficult.
like you'll make a dinner, you
Hmm.
have multiple kids, you'll make a dinner, there'll be lots of options on the table, but of
Yeah.
course it is ultimately their choice what they're going to consume at that meal.
Yeah.
And if they decide not to consume the portion of it that actually has the protein and the iron and the, you know, you really you cannot force your children to do things. Well,
You
you should
can't.
not. You should not force your child. And that's really why supplements are
Yeah.
available, is because
Hmm.
we do need these nutrients. They are essential to our bodies, to our growth, development, mindset, and we do need to consume them. So that
Yes.
is why, if you can't get it from food, of course, we should be trying it as hard as possible. But we're all busy too. Like the amount of
We're so
times that we
busy.
have to go from school to a sport and have 30 minutes, and you just want to make sure that they're fed enough that they
That,
can make it through that sport.
yeah, exactly. Well, and sometimes you get so far, like your gas tank is so low on iron. There's nothing we're going to be able to sort of eat on a regular basis that's going to catch up to that. And we can talk about testing and what that might look like, but it's a lot to try to replace the iron that you've already sort of lost
Yes.
in
Oh, yeah.
diet. So it's
Yeah.
it's definitely where supplements can come in. I'm
Yeah.
pro supplement, obviously, but
Yeah. Well,
I
for
like to,
iron, yes, I
yes.
100% agree.
Hmm.
Iron and omegas, like those
Yeah.
two things, well, vitamin D
And
because
vitamin
we're in
D.
Canada.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those three, like I
It's a
try, I try,
no-brainer.
I try. The kids eat some things, they don't eat some things. They're all in sports. You get a menstruating teenager.
Yeah.
You have to supplement because what else are you going to do? Like you just physically can't get what they need in
Yeah.
them on that regular basis for them to actually function the way that they should and want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
We agree always.
We that is true. That is true. And I do want to talk about, so we talked about heme and non-heme, so
Yeah.
absorbable iron. Of course, heme iron is more absorbable.
Hmm.
But I also want to talk about some of the foods that interact with iron. So,
Yeah.
you do a lot of practitioner talks on milk and
Yeah.
dairy. And so
Hmm.
tell us a little bit about the issues, especially because kids get affected by this a lot
A
more.
lot.
Well, we do have our latte parents, but
Yeah.
kids really love
Or
their
latte.
dairy.
Do you say latte or latte?
I said latte, a latte parent.
Have you been traveling in Europe?
No, never.
No. Yeah, that's probably our biggest one, especially in kids and toddlers, is so there's things that counteract or sort of interrupt the absorption of iron, and calcium is one of them. And tend to we get these kids that, they're having bottles of milk, they're having glasses of milk, they might be having milk on their cereal or their yogurt, whatever it might be. They're getting a lot of calcium in places where we don't really want to be offering something with iron at that same time.
Right.
So it kind of interacts. It's like a, it puts up a fight to help it, or to actually absorb it. There's things like vitamin C that help you absorb iron. I always say the spinach salad with the oranges on it, or strawberries. You kind of put the vitamin C with something rich in iron, or a soup with lentils and beans, or meat with tomato sauce. Like you're mixing those together to kind of increase that iron absorption. But calcium is a huge, huge one, especially for little people
Yes.
who are drinking a lot of milk.
Yes.
We see
Well, and
that.
under one, kids aren't supposed to have cow's milk.
Yeah.
And then over one, I believe is what, 1 cup a day is now what they
Max
put it
two
to?
cups.
Max
Max
two
two
cups.
cups. Like 16 ounces would be the most that we would recommend. But we see, and don't, if you're a parent on here and your child drinks more than that, that's okay. You can make some changes. But we see kids up to, they're having bottles, even over age 2, 8, 9, 10, 8 ounce bottles a day. So that's like 10 cups a day of milk.
Yeah.
That's excessive. So
And that's not even just the issue with the iron absorption. Like they're now getting full
they
on
have
milk.
no room for solid food. They're just full on milk. So they're not getting iron from anywhere because cow's milk doesn't have any iron in it.
Yeah.
So not to make anyone feel bad, that's the biggest when I'm seeing clients, they're like, I feel so terrible, that because you think milk is good. You're like, this has a lot of protein and calcium and
And they add vitamin D, I
calories
think, now
and
to it
fat.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have some
So
fortified ingredients. Yeah.
yeah. So not to
But
feel
yes,
bad, but max 2 cups, please. And not at the same time as something really high in iron.
right. You don't want
Mm.
to counteract the two. And then
Yeah.
on the adult front, actually, going back to our lattes,
Yeah.
caffeine.
Oh, yes.
Caffeine
I'm
and
so
dairy. So you
bad
got
for this.
caffeine and dairy
Hmm.
together. So the two of them, um, inhibit our absorption of iron.
I know I really try, even for myself, but yeah, try to take, because most people take their meds or their pills or their supplements in the morning, and that's probably when they're having a coffee or a tea or
Coffee.
something. So try to adjust that timing. Maybe take your iron in the afternoon if you're not drinking tea or coffee all day long. But yeah, that can be interacting. And there, I do have to say there are families we see that their kids do drink tea. Um, at a young age, like with milk and a little bit of sugar or whatever, or honey or
Yeah,
whatever they might put in. So not to have those at the same time if you are doing that. But
right. Very
yeah,
good tips. It's
hmm,
true. Because I
I
know we
know.
think about food and then we don't think about the things that are interacting while you're eating them, and
Yeah.
then you're just working against each other. You never
Don't get
want
too
that.
stressed
Don't
too.
get too
Like if you,
stressed.
yeah, like if it's the only time of day that you're like, oh, I forget, remember to have my iron, and you're having a drink of milk or whatever it might be, that's okay. But just try not to make it a daily habit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So
Okay. What else?
I have some very good questions. So I just want to make sure I hit
Okay.
them
Okay.
all. But I know
Okay.
we've also already talked about a number of them, so I gotta make
I
sure
know.
that
I'm
I've
like looking. I have questions for you too. So.
ooh. All right. So now we know what iron does.
Yep.
We're moving that oxygen through the body. That's why people get the lightheaded. That's how they get tired. That's how, they
Yeah.
can't sing an entire song without, taking a deep breath and having to sit down. I did want to touch on hair because that's
Yes,
also really
please.
important.
Yeah.
So when we have low iron stores with adults, their hair actually thins and falls out. But with
Yeah.
kids, it doesn't grow in.
They
So it's
get
kind
like
of
the
a
really sparse around the temples and the forehead too.
and
Oh
you
my
can kind of
goodness.
see a little bit, especially with blondes, you can kind of see
Yeah.
their scalp because their hair is so
Yeah.
fine and wispy. So
Yes.
that's a big one. Like a lot of people say, oh, their hair is so thick, but it's really that they have good iron stores versus a kid that potentially has,
Mm-hmm.
a low iron store at birth. So
That
I
birth. Yeah.
definitely want to talk about, because we did say, talk about supplementing, who benefits from a supplement. And I actually think we should start with pregnancy. So
Yeah.
who benefits from supplements? And I think maybe if you could touch on pregnancy to start with.
Yeah. Moms. Those moms, those I always bring it back to the gas tank. Like moms probably when they're before they're pregnant and during pregnancy, maybe they're sick, maybe they're vomiting, maybe they're not taking enough in, like they're kind of coming in with a gas tank already low in iron, and then they're
Yes.
trying to grow this beautiful baby, this little little baby who's kind of sucking all of the iron out from them anyways. And so we should be supplementing prior and going into pregnancy, but then we find the percentage, I don't know what the actual percentage of people, of women having iron deficient babies, it's very high um, when they are coming out as well, because, and then both mom and baby are deficient. And then we're
Yes.
starting off on this very low gas tank again. Mom breastfeeds. Yes, breast milk has iron in it, but it's a low amount. It's very bioavailable, but it's hard to catch up. Maybe they're born early, maybe they're low birth weight. All of those things can make a difference on having to supplement mom and baby at that time. So we really, I don't know. I even was never talked about that. Like nobody told me about that when I was pregnant with any of my kids to focus on that. They do the folic acid and things like that, but iron was never kind of brought up
No.
for me.
And I did want to point out the amount of iron in a prenatal vitamin is if you have good iron
Yeah,
stores at the beginning of
yeah,
pregnancy, that 30 milligrams is your maintenance dose to keep you good. That is
yes.
not that prenatal is not there to increase your iron. And I think that's really important because a lot of people
Yeah.
think, well, I'm taking a prenatal. I should be getting enough iron. Why is my iron low? And
Hmm.
it really has to do with, well, what were your iron stores before you started that
Before.
prenatal?
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's nice to get a blood work, like a panel to know. You should, like they do a lot of blood work when you're pregnant and before.
Yes.
So that should be on there so that you know to be able to
Right. And
supplement as
then,
well.
and
But
to point out that A ferritin of 100
Mm,
is normal. So
yeah.
that's the ideal number is 100. And we hear a lot from practitioners, yourself, and OBs that they just see so much low iron that it
Hmm.
becomes normal.
Normal.
And that is not how
Yeah.
this should be. They should not just be desensitized to low iron because it is affecting the baby and the mom.
Yeah.
And it's really important.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Those numbers, we could go on for days about
Yes.
those
I
blood
know.
work and how to, yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, so mom, baby, toddler, we've talked about if they're picky eaters, selective eaters, they just can't take enough volume. It can happen if they're milk babies, we call them, if they're drinking too much milk. And then they get into, they're growing, like
Yes.
the amount of growth in the first even year, 3 years, 5 years of life is phenomenal. They're kind of chewing up nutrients as they go to kind of support that growth. And then
Yeah.
if they're, in a sport when they get older, if they're active, if they're an athlete, if they're a female menstruating, like all of those things, you're going to be losing and using iron that we need to
Yes.
replace. And it's very difficult. So, yeah.
Yeah, those are huge ones. I know you, and like the more we sweat, so when you're talking about
Yeah.
sports, the more you sweat, the more iron you lose. And that's every age
Hmm.
and stage. And then, of course, after our teenagers, then we become young adults. And then we have the same needs. We're still
Yep.
menstruating. We're still in sports. We might have a selective diet that we've chosen,
Yep.
culturally or
Yeah.
not.
Hmm.
Vegan, vegetarian, certain things we're not eating. And then, then we have the babies or
Yeah.
we don't.
It's
And
a
then
whole
that,
cycle.
that whole cycle. But then also seniors. So we
Yeah.
have noticed a lot with seniors and digestive conditions that
Hmm.
occur as you age. You lose iron every time you go to the washroom, or you're not absorbing it from some of those
Yeah.
conditions, correct?
Yeah. Definitely. If somebody has any sort of, Crohn's or colitis or IBS, any of those, you're not you're not absorbing as well. And as you get older, yes, the absorption capacity of the elderly is a little bit as we get old, that's what's going to happen to us.
Yeah.
And so
So we still have to focus on it.
yeah, we still have to focus. And we can talk about that because a lot of elderly people like your iron,
Yes.
especially the drops. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Love them.
we always I would say like 10, 15 years ago, all I ever heard about iron was only if you're a menstruating woman.
Yeah.
Those are the
Hmm.
only people that need iron. And then we forget about everybody else. But
Yeah.
there's ages and stages and conditions that are dramatically affected by low iron or
Hmm.
cause low iron. And we do need to talk about them throughout our life cycle, not just when we're, 18 to
Yeah.
40 something. There are
Yeah.
other times in our life where
Yeah.
iron would be very important. I know there was a study that came out for our teenage girls, and they were simply just given a maintenance dose of iron, and their test scores improved because they were able
Yes.
to focus.
Focus. Hmm.
Like, how simple is that?
So
They
simple.
weren't deficient, they were low iron. They were just low iron, and they
Yeah.
couldn't focus simply because of iron deficiency. Right there.
What? It's
Yeah.
so easy.
It's so
But I
easy.
like
So
that you
easy to add
talked about,
BioFe iron into your life.
look at that. I like that you talked about that line, and we can talk about the low iron versus anemia and what that looks like, because you did
Yes.
mention sort of that, but I can hold off on that if you want.
No, I think that's a perfect time to talk about it. I think it's
Be-
perfect. Let's do
Okay,
it.
good.
Okay.
Well, I feel it's the same when you're, like you said, when you're going to a physician, they might say, "Oh, that number's okay. It's roughly fine. The range is really big, but
Yes.
the range is very large in terms of what a good ferritin, like a blood work panel would show you. And so if you're at the very low end, they still will say, oh, it's fine because it's within that range. But there is low iron. So a lot of people are just low iron. So their ferritin, which is a measure of how much iron is in your body that's stored, that can be low. But there's other other things like hemoglobin and hematocrit, all of these other things that when you're or when you have anemia, those are all low. And that's when things get real bad. We don't want to get to that point. And so we
Correct.
really want to focus when these people, or you, I, babies, kids, whoever, are low iron. That's when we should be stepping in and just offering some sort of supplement at that time before we become fully anemic and get really, really sick. That's not where we
Yes.
want to be. But most people have a low iron of some
Yes.
sort.
You know, I have to point out, so obviously I talk about iron a lot. So on
Yeah,
my Instagram feed, I get iron seems to be a topic that pops up.
yeah,
There is a doctor out of Korea who works
yeah.
on patients for hair different, like different things she does for people's hair.
Okay.
Anyways, she will not work on you unless your ferritin is above 80.
But she's probably like,
Because
what's the point? You're not.
exactly, she's like, what is the point? She's
Yeah,
like, so if your iron is causing your hair loss, I am not going to help you
yeah.
regrow hair because it's not going to work.
Hmm.
And I think that a lot of people don't realize
Interesting.
like there's other implications in other parts of your life that you may
Hmm.
not even have correlated the two together. But it was
Yeah,
very interesting because I was like, oh, yes, it's true. But a lot of people listening were probably like, well, I never even thought about
yeah.
my iron and my
Those
hair
two.
loss. Yeah, especially
Yeah.
even men, you also should know, is this genetic or is this a nutrient deficiency?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I just saw a client the other with
Mm,
restless legs, and suffered for so long, and just had
yeah.
such low iron, and so replacing that has been helping. Just to, no, but we don't think of those
I
things.
know.
We don't
Because
think of
everyone
those
always
things.
says magnesium. It's got to be magnesium.
Yeah.
Has to be something else.
Hmm.
And iron plays such an important role in all of these.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
Yes.
low iron anemia. Yeah. Different. Very different.
Very different. And a supplement also helps prevent you get to anemia, like you said. Let's stop
Hmm.
it before it becomes a big problem.
Yeah.
And let's also find out why we're iron deficient. Is it
Hmm.
simply we're not eating? That's an easy one we can look at. Is it a digestive condition, like you said? Then are we going to, have a different, are we going to introduce fibers? Are we going to introduce
Yeah.
probiotics, along with the iron to make sure that we're healing the digestive system? Or is it a cycle problem where we're having really heavy periods?
Hmm.
And then that way we want to look at, okay, well, why are the heavy periods happening? So,
Yeah.
I think it's really important to also find out why, so
Why?
that while we're supplementing and solving this problem, it's, not a band-aid as well.
Yeah.
We're going to find a solution.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me then, Caitlin, what do we have for people?
Well, we have options for all ages, Angela. And the reason why we have so many BioFe Iron
Hmm.
products is my own daughter was iron deficient, as I said before. We found out when she was 2, and she hated everything that I bought for her. I was trying everything. I was making
Yeah.
all the things. I was buying all the products. She hated everything. She wouldn't touch any of like the food products either. So we were really at this point where I need a
You're like,
solution and I need it now. And the pediatrician kept saying, you need to solve this. And if
yeah,
she won't take it, you need to find another solution. Well, finding another solution would be creating a solution, and it was the BioFe Iron line. And we chose a specific iron, which is micronized and encapsulated, so that we don't have the upset stomach. We don't have
yeah,
stained teeth, because yes, some iron products stain your teeth, which is
yeah,
horrible.
yeah.
And then they cause constipation, and you have this problem and that problem, and they taste horrible. So all these things together, that wasn't going to work for my family or other families out there. So we chose this specific type of iron to make sure that it tasted good and it worked well, and it was easy and good compliance. Because if we don't
That's
take our
because,
products,
yeah, that's the biggest complaint. It's compliance
yes,
when practitioners are recommending something to their patients. You can recommend all you want. If that child is not going to take that iron,
then
it's
it
not
doesn't
going to
matter.
work. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter. It's not going to do anything. So that's what
yeah.
this
So then,
product has been
yes.
amazing for that.
So we'll start with our little drop. So this one
I'm
is
so
actually
glad you have
for
them all. Yeah.
newborns and up, so 0 months and up. You just give it a shake in the little dropper, this little iron and MCT. It kind of has a starch taste to it.
Mhm.
That one works because it only has those ingredients. It is extremely clean and gentle on the stomach. It works super well for our senior population and
Yeah.
people with digestive conditions, because there's absolutely nothing extra in the product. So if they don't do well with a flavor or anything, that would be the go-to for them. And it is great for all ages. It is technically an infant iron drop, but it works for multitude
Oh,
of groups. And then also, if you have a sensory or
yeah.
a selective eater in the
Eater.
family, you can add it to a smoothie or orange juice or even a
Yeah.
squeezy pack, like a little squeezy pouch.
Yeah.
You can't even tell it's in there.
Yeah, that's a big one in a lot of feeding clinics that we work with
Yes.
that have
Yes.
kids with sensory concerns or won't take different textures or they eat 5 foods or whatever. You can still get it in. They really like that one.
And then we have our chewables. And chewables are good for ages 3 and up, and that's for choking. Chewable
Yeah.
is not
Hmm.
actually for the dosage. So that's a good way. So if you have like an almost 3-year-old, don't worry, they
Yeah.
can take it if they have a full set of teeth. So we have a chewable. This one comes in a 5 milligram, which actually was done on purpose. So you could add it to a multivitamin. So our multivitamin does have iron in it, but you can easily top up the multi
Top it.
with the small chewable tablets. So you would take two to get 10 milligrams for your maintenance dose. So that's your iron needs for every day, not a therapeutic dose that you would get from the doctor. You can
Right.
increase based on those needs and then drop back down when needed. And then, of course, because chewables are so much fun,
Yeah.
we have a grape. I
A great
was
one.
like, does it? There we go. You can see it. So
Yeah.
this one is 10 milligrams. So double the dose of the chewable is this one. And so this one's a great option as well. Actually, when we do demos, this one sells out
Yeah.
every time when we do a demo in person,
Those are
which
ones my
is,
kids like the most.
yeah.
And they're
And my
older.
daughter
Like,
loves it because it smells. So
yeah.
it's also colored with purple carrots. And so it has a nice smell. And then, of course, it has a fun color to it as well. And then, we have our liquids as well. Now, these are actually the exact same product, but we have them for, a teenager may not want
Yeah.
a kid looking label.
Hmm.
So we decided to also have two, you see them both, two
Yes.
labels, the
Two
same product
labels.
though. So this one's more of a, teenager, adult looking label. And then we
Hmm.
have the one that's a little more astronaut kid friendly for KidStar. Just, just
You
in
have to
case
please
those
them all.
teenagers
Yeah.
don't want it.
Yeah.
So that one, it also has B6 and B12 added to it as well. And it is licensed for 0 months and up. So if you have an infant that would like to have that one instead,
Yeah.
they can. It also is 15 milligrams of elemental iron, so it's a little bit higher dose than the other ones per serving. And then also 2 teaspoons is the pregnancy dose, which is the 30
Mm.
milligrams of elemental iron. So lots of options on that one. And then, of course, we were both very excited when the
Yes.
newest addition to the BioFe Iron lineup came, our
Oh,
sachets,
it's so
our
good.
liquid sachet. So it's liquid in there, and you just drink it right out of it, or you could
Yeah.
put it on a spoon. These are super convenient, especially if you need higher iron dose. My third daughter loves these ones. They are her favorite. She's like, she just rips it open. She just takes it. She's like, that's so great. So it has
I
the
have
third.
one right
You
now
have
in
one
my
too.
purse.
It's the on the go. You can travel
It's
with
on
it.
the
You can
go.
take it through security.
Hmm.
Yeah, you don't
And
have to
it's
worry
when
about
I'm
it.
not drinking tea. So this is when I can have it in the afternoon. So I keep it in my purse.
That's right. And then none of our liquid irons need to be refrigerated, which is also
Yeah.
really important. So you do not have to refrigerate them. If you would like to, you can, but you do not have to. They are shelf stable, which is also wonderful. We actually
Wonderful.
had someone in the company who went on vacation last summer and they took a bunch of their BioFe iron throughout Europe. And so it was fun to see
Oh,
iron on the go.
traveling, iron
Yes.
on the
So
go, travel.
this is double the dose per serving of the BioFe Plus.
Yeah.
So there is 30 milligrams of elemental iron in this one. You just drink it. It's good to go. So nice and simple. And that one you buy in a box. So you
Yeah.
can buy them in as singles, but they come in a box with 46 in there. So yeah, and it's good for the whole family. So our liquids are licensed for 0 months and up. So everyone in the house can take the same product.
Hmm.
Just different needs and preferences are really why we have so many options.
It's amazing too because not no company does that. Like in terms of trying to make something for everyone. Everyone has a different taste palette or texture. Maybe they can't chew it, whatever it might be. So that options are all so wonderful to be able to have. So yeah,
Yeah. We wanted to
I
really
love.
make sure that, because if you think about a household,
Yeah.
it's, you have multiple people in there with multiple wants and needs. And as a mom, I think you also are thinking, okay, well, my one daughter loves this type of thing, but I know that
Hmm.
not everybody wants that. And you really have to think about this is such an important nutrient that's
Hmm.
why we did it. We knew that there were preferences. We know that you have to take iron on a regular basis and you can get bored with what you're taking. So
Yeah, you
that's,
can.
we wanted to make sure we we made sure the customers were happy and the kids were happy and the parents were happy and they were actually wanting to take their supplements.
I love hearing that story. Every time you tell it, every time you talk about it, it just makes me so inspired by everything that you're doing for all the people that are iron deficient out there like me.
Yes, I know. Well, and that's the thing, like, when we are iron deficient, sometimes it creeps up on you and then you're like, oh, right. And then you go
Yeah.
back to all the things I'm like, hey, I'm going to change
Hmm.
this. I'm going to add this, small steps, moving towards something. But with our kids, it's so important because, as you said before, they're growing. So their
Hmm.
brain is growing, their bodies are growing, and we really need the nutrients to make sure that it supports that growth for them.
Well, it's nice to do these lives together or just reminders for people because it's the same. We get into a routine, you think you forget that iron is important or
Yes.
whatever it might be. And so now it'll come out to the forefront. You might put it out on your table or, in the shelf near everything else to be able to put that back into your routine. We all
Yeah,
get out of routine
we
sometimes. So,
do. And actually,
yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
next week we're going to be
Next
out of
week.
routine.
Yeah.
And I guess 2 days from now, it's going
Hmm.
to be, who knows what's
Who
happening?
knows?
Someone
But
said,
we
well,
have
what?
our iron.
We'll have our iron no matter what. Take your iron on the go,
Yes.
and you will be fine for all
Hmm.
of your. Wait, this way. I was like, which direction is it? That's the way. Because with kids, it's also you're everywhere. You're everywhere
Hmm.
during the season. You're trying to pack in all these activities, and it is utter chaos. I think the only benefit is some of the organized sports stop, and that's about
That's
it.
about it.
If you're
Yeah.
lucky, if you're in hockey, they don't stop. I've
No, we don't
noticed.
stop.
They don't know what a
Mm-mm.
holiday is.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, no, it's going to be a busy time for everybody in the next 2 weeks, and getting out of routine is what happens. But
Yeah.
making sure, if you can focus on one little
One
supplement, I
little
think it
thing.
would be this one.
And insight. Just put it in sight so that you see it. It's
Yes.
not doesn't have to be in the fridge and so you don't have to tuck it
Yeah.
away. It can be out
And I mean,
on your
you
mind.
said a very important thing earlier on, and I wanted to bring it back before we close, is that we sometimes don't see our kids the
Hmm.
way other people see our kids because we see them every day. It's a slow change if they are
Yeah.
changing. It's kind of like how you forget that they've grown 2 inches in a year
Yeah.
until you see, an ant. And that
Hmm.
ant's like, wow, you are so much taller than you were last year because they obviously haven't seen them every day growing. And that is the same thing with symptoms of iron deficiency, right? Like sometimes we might
Yeah.
need to listen to the unsolicited advice
I
of
know.
our
It's
family
yeah.
members. It
Take it
might
with a
be a
grain
good,
of salt. Be like, okay, yep, yeah, okay, I'll take it that, and maybe we'll see a physician or talk about that going forward. But
yes.
that is when in clinic that's when we would see people a lot is after big events,
Mm,
holidays, because you get those people that say,
yes.
well-meaning,
Yes.
well-meaning for sure, that maybe something looks a little bit different, or they're very, very pale, or they just seem really tired, whatever that might be. So,
Yes. So,
yeah.
we'll try to be nice to the unsolicited advice
Yeah.
over the holiday season because
Hmm.
it could be very useful because it's hard.
It
It's
could.
hard for us. We got a lot
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, we do. We do. Well, thank you. This is fun.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
We're almost done. So I'm just gonna make sure I
Okay.
didn't miss anything
Okay.
before we
I
get
think we're,
off. I think we're doing really well.
hmm
Yeah. Supplementing. Yeah. We got our tips and tricks in
yeah.
there. Yeah, so the only thing we didn't touch on was so the iron supplements that KidStar, the daily dose on the label is a maintenance
Yeah.
dose, since we want to make sure people know a maintenance dose is what we should be getting every day from the foods we're eating to meeting our needs. But then what happens if every single symptom you and I just said, a parent
Yeah.
goes, "That's my
I have
child.
those.
I
Yeah.
have all of those. Myself,
Hmm.
my kids, I see it everywhere." What do those parents do?
You're going to get different groups of parents. Some will, if it was me, I would go to a physician or a naturopath and get some blood work. Just ask for a little bit of blood work. I know parents, some don't want to get that done, or teenagers, whoever it might be, they should be getting some blood work. It's
Yes.
kind of it's a like we said, everyone should be having vitamin D and everyone should have omegas. It's one that we don't want to give too much of if we don't know where we're starting from. Yes, we can give a maintenance dose of the products that we have or you have, It's when we know they're really deficient or moving into anemia that we want to know that number, what our ferritin number is so that we can give a higher dose of that iron.
Yes.
So I would definitely recommend, if you can, to get some blood work where they will test their ferritin, and make sure you see that, ask for that number, like to see
Yes.
the results so that you know what it actually is, because a lot of the times they'll not call you or say it was fine, and
Right.
so yeah,
And then I know when you get that number, they normally do give you the therapeutic dose,
yeah,
which would be an increased amount of iron. We normally take that for 3 months. And
yes,
then we get blood work done again to ensure that the iron levels went back up and now
yep,
they're at a healthy level. And then you'd go back to your maintenance doses
hmm,
that you were taking prior, which is extremely helpful. So if you are that parent out there that put their hand up for every single symptom that you
yeah,
heard, or even 3 or more of them for yourself, if that sounds like your family, maintenance doses are just going to keep you where you are. They're going to help you not drop any lower. But you want to go make sure you get your ferritin, your
yeah,
hemoglobin, and see how much more iron you should take for that amount of time, and then go back to your maintenance.
perfect. And that's
Yeah.
how and sometimes it takes a little bit longer than the 3 months, and and making sure you're taking it, that you're
Yes,
being compliant before you actually do blood work again, so that we know that you're actually doing it.
that is
Take
true.
blood work. It might take a little bit longer and you have to do blood work again, but that's sort of the range that, 3 to 4 months that we would get it done again.
Yeah.
Because it can be, though it can be very quick where some of those symptoms start to improve, but those longer acting ones, it might take a little bit longer
Right.
to
Yeah.
start seeing
And
any
getting the
sort of
right
change.
dose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not
Working with
everyone
your
is the
doctor.
same, so yeah.
Yeah.
Working with a physician or a doctor or a dietitian or whoever,
That's
or
right.
naturopath or nurse practitioner to find out. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, and the one thing I always say, if you are anxious for your kid to get blood work done,
yeah.
you could call ahead to the testing facility, make sure they have someone who knows how to work on kids. Or
Hmm.
if you have a children's hospital near you, they always have outpatient labs. You can go there. They are pros.
They're amazing. Yeah.
That's all they do all day long is they work
Yep.
on kids. So,
Yeah.
there are places to make it easier for you. BC Children's here actually has a program. So if you have a kid who is very worried about getting blood work done, or you as a parent, they meet you outside and they start the whole process. It's
Oh,
a
they
very
do?
lovely process, yes, and they
Oh,
walk you in. There's an iPad. They make sure it's fast. You're in and out. So they make it a very unique experience to reduce any stress or anxiety
yeah.
around it. So there are
Yeah.
programs out there to help us. And so if we are in that situation, make sure you ask so that it's nice. You don't want to have any extra fears around things. So
Yeah. And I'm not trying to be flippant, like, oh, just go get it done. Yes, there's lots of resources that can make that a little bit easier, but from my point of view, those long-term side effects that can
oh,
happen with low iron is kind of outweighs a little poke. So, but
definitely.
I know what it's like when you have a
Yeah.
child. My oldest is deathly allergic. She hates needles,
She's
and
allergic to
she's
needles. I
20.
like it.
She's probably tells that I'm allergic to needles.
No, and you're right. Low iron affects our entire body and our brain and our
Hmm.
development. And so getting the blood work done is extremely important if you are seeing all those signs and symptoms. And that's, thankfully those programs are available in some
Exists, yeah.
areas to help us. Otherwise, you maybe have to find a solution with your practitioner because it's so important.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll come into your house too. Like if maybe
Yes.
that's a
Yeah.
safer environment where they can act like Life Labs or whoever, they can come in and do
True.
the blood work. But there's
Yeah.
lots of options. Yeah.
Yeah. So ask around, look
All
around.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so
Okay.
much, Angela.
Thank
I was very
you.
excited to do a all ages and stages of iron
Hmm.
deficiency. I know it was a little snippet here and there, but if anyone has any questions, make sure you send them through Instagram DMs or on posts or comments, and we'll make sure we answer them as well for you because it is such an important topic for all ages and stages. And as
Hmm.
Angela knows, the pediatric environment, this is such a common thing. So it's very important for us to be talking about.
I know we get focused on kids all the time, but there's a lots of other people
Yes.
that need this. So
Yeah.
good. I like that.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
All
Thank you
right.
so much. And
Okay.
happy holidays.
Yeah. Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Bye,
See you
everyone.
next time.